Hi, I'm Ellie, and today we are going to be discussing repositories. So repositories are a fantastic tool and actually my favourite product Wordsmith offer because of the sheer number of things that you can build with them. So today we're going to walk through a basic use case and Ask Legal repository, and then how we can supercharge that by connecting it to Slack and other tools that we are seeing legal departments have. So first off, what is a Wordsmith repository? So you can access repositories from the toolbar on the left-hand side. They were formerly called workspaces. They are smart folders in Wordsmith that store and organise your documents, providing instant AI-powered visibility and insights without needing to migrate files from existing storage systems like Google Drive or SharePoint. So for example, if I navigate down to content, you can see that I have synced two documents from my Google Drive. So if I click this drop down, you can see that I can natively sync my documents from Google Drive, SharePoint, Notion, or Confluence. The reason that we do this is because we know how often documents, policies can be updated and changed within a business. So this allows you to sync that document or folder from those applications. So every time a change is made within one of those documents, it's automatically synced within Wordsmith. Additionally, you're also able to upload static files and upload via email. So if I click this, that allows you to send in any attached content in an email to the repository. How can you utilize repositories while on Wordsmith? You can see at the bottom we have chat about this content. This allows you to access the focus functionality. So we're essentially selecting the repository in the chat composer to get answers drawn exclusively from that content. So if I were to navigate over to chat and I were to click focus and search for my repository, select the repository, I can ask a question. So can I work from Bali? So you can see it's done that needle in the haystack search, which is perfect for repositories, and it has pulled out the information from these documents. The citations are currently loading, but we'll be able to pinpoint exactly where it got its information from. It's told me, no, you can't work from Bali, and if you need clarification on what locations are approved, then you can consult the remote work policy. And then you can see that there is a code at the bottom with on-call. I'll explain that in just a second in the custom instructions, but if we take a look at the citations, so if I click the citations, I can see exactly from what document and where it's pulling the information from. So if I navigate back to the repository, and we can see that I've uploaded my sources, that's fine. If I want to upload any more, I can do that. Now I want to navigate to settings and I want to go to memory. So again, memory is something that we will talk about once we get into Slack in a little bit more depth, but essentially it does what it says in the tin, in that you are giving Wordsmith memories. So these are memories that it's going to utilize when it's answering questions. So anything that users ask it, it's going to use this as like gold standard. You have verified that this is a good response, so therefore it knows to use this. Two ways you can do this is either by improving an answer in Slack, and we'll go into that, like I said, in a bit more depth in a second, or you can add a custom memory here with your question and answer. The other thing worth noting is the Slack scrape. So this allows you to select a channel, scrape the information from that channel and pull it into Wordsmith and import it as memories. It's worth noting that this is very different to the Slack integration that we have here. And the reason that we have this feature is, let's say that before you bought Wordsmith, you had a basic question and answer channel for legal questions in Slack. And the business could come in, ask their questions, and a human would come and answer them. That's training data, so we don't want you to lose that, but we want you to be able to scrape it and pull it into Wordsmith and use this as a basis to get started and enhance your questions further. So once you pull in that information, you'll get a loading bar. Once that's pulled, you'll get a list of questions and answers, which you can choose to import, you can edit, or you can choose to not import. It's completely up to you. So heading to advanced, you can see that we have custom instructions. Now, I like to think of this as building the AI's brain. So it tells the AI, how do you want me to think and act? And more so, how do you want me to think and act upon the information that you have given me? So the sources that we've given it. These vary customer to customer and task by task. So I have seen some customers who have very, very basic custom instructions because that's all they need to get the job done. And I have other customers who maybe have quite long, complex, granular custom instructions because they need the AI to think about the sources and the task at hand in maybe a step-by-step workflow. So for example, let's say, for instance, in our content sources, we had multiple different entities. So we had some global documentation, then we had maybe Spanish documentation, German documentation, French documentation, and we wanted to tell the AI in a step-by-step manner that when you're answering a question, I want you to first look at the global documentation, then I want you to look at the certain country documentation, and then I want you to formulate your answer in this manner. So we're going to go through these custom instructions and how I would build it for this specific use case, but if you want to understand how to prompt repositories better or to help you draft some custom instructions, then I would advise you to take a read at our prompt guide, which will be linked below. So you can see that I've told it that your role is to answer general legal queries, always reply in a direct, concise bullet points, keep the tone friendly, not too formal. If you require more information, always ask follow-up questions, and you'll see that I have a threat. So AI has been trained on Reddit, and so it inherently knows that capitalization of words means shouting. And what I've also found is that giving it a little bit of a threat helps guide it a little bit more. Use 1 to 3 emojis max per message to make answers friendly but not cluttered. And then at the end of every answer, always include who is on review duty for the day based on the rota. So again, this will make more sense when we head into Slack. But essentially what these are is maybe you have a rota within the team of who is going to actually review and just manage the Slack channel and make sure all the answers coming through are correct. So what we're able to do is at the bottom of every answer, based on the day, tag a specific user. So to be able to get this, I'm going to head over to Slack. I'm going to click on a user. So in this instance, it's me. I'm going to click the 3 dots, copy member ID, and then we are simply going to encase it in the hidden arrows and the @ symbol. Then I've given the AI an example of what that looks like. I've used Markdown, so this will mean that the on-call is actually in bold. And then I have told it, so we're Jira users, and I want to tell it that if the user asks about a contract review over $20,000, they need to submit it for review here. I've encased it in square brackets, which is going to tell the AI to hyperlink it, and I've inserted the link to the Jira form that the user would have to fill out here. And then if a user asks for a mutual NDA, always say use the mutual NDA template here. And that is actually linked to a blueprint that we have. So it allows the user to fill out a blueprint from Slack. And again, we have a separate video on a use case on this, but that's just also how you could embed this in the custom instructions. And then I just have at the bottom to hyperlink the URLs. So we're going to hit done. And now we're going to move on to Slack. So you can see a couple of things going on here. First off, we have autopilot. Now, we're going to talk about this more, but essentially I have this toggled on, and by default it will be toggled on, and this means that the assistant, so Wordsmith, will automatically respond in the response channel to messages without approval. That's not scary. Yes, Wordsmith will respond to answers, but legal is constantly in the loop. So you'll see that when I ask a question, that at the very bottom, legal has the ability to hit the improve button. They can improve the answer, assign the answer, or approve the answer at all times. So if we connect this to our response channel, now if I take a look at my response channel, you see that I had some previous questions going on here. It is locked. So it's worth noting that if your channel is locked, you will have to add Wordsmith as a user to get this started. So you'll tag Wordsmith and it'll ask you to invite them. And all you need to do is hit add. So it's the exact same as if you were adding anybody else to this channel, you would have to manually add them. If it was a public channel, then you don't need to do this. You just need to do the next step. Once Wordsmith has been added, if it's a private channel, you're going to want to hit connect and search for your channel. So I have Ask Legal recording. I'm going to hit connect. And I am also going to want to set up a Copilot channel. So although this is going to be on autopilot, it is going to allow Legal to view all the responses coming through. Typically, I would say that this is not necessary when you have it on autopilot, but it's definitely necessary to be able to enable the Copilot function. So we'll leave this as is for now, and I'm going to ask a question. I'm just going to ask, can I work from Bali? And it's given me a holding message or a thinking message. Now this can all be customizable, and it'll also change to your company. So it's given me my answer, which is correct, you can't work from Bali, and you can see how it's tagged Michael, who's on duty today. Now, if I was Legal, I can see the improve button at the very bottom of my answer. I hit improve and I can edit the answer as I please. I can assign it to somebody else, so maybe I'm not the best person to answer this question. I would assign it to somebody else and it will create a separate channel. And if I'm happy with the answer, I can hit approve. Now, before I do this, I can see the visible sources, so I can see what Wordsmith used to actually create this answer. So I can see the legal FAQ document. I can also see that there is a saved answer in here and what date that was saved. Now, if I want to save this answer as a memory, then I would just hit it's automatically opt-in, but I would just hit approve, and if I don't want this to be saved, then I can obviously opt out. I would typically advise you to opt in. It just means that anything that you verify is given to Wordsmith as a memory, and it's a gold response. So hit approve, and everybody will get a verified answer and a green tick, and then you will get a only visible to you message saying that the answer edit was successful. So if we head back and we now connect our Copilot channel, so typically I would personally just create a new channel here. So if you hit new channel, then it's going to be private, but I already have a Copilot channel set up. So I am just going to search for admin connect. And if you created the channel, then you would see a new channel pop up here. Now that we've connected our Copilot channel, we're going to want to toggle off autopilot and we're going to toggle it to Copilot. So to see what this looks like, let's head back, and I've just asked how many holiday days do I get in the UK. So if I take a look at this, I now have a different holding message. So someone on the Wordsmith team is checking your answer to your question and will contact you as soon as this is done. Again, this can all be customizable and it will also change to your company name. You can see that I have a new notification. So if I click that, it'll take me into my admin channel. And I can see that a user has asked how many holiday days do I get in the UK. I can see the answer because I'm legal. I don't have any information about UK holiday entitlements. You can reach out to HR. Statutory minimum is 28 days. Okay, so if I'm happy with that, then I hit approve and it'll go back to the user. Otherwise, I can hit improve or assign just as we did before. So hit approve. And now if we go back to the answer, you can see that it's been verified and it has been updated for the user. So when to use Copilot and when to use Autopilot, I will typically say that when you are rolling out a repository to the business for the first time, I typically see users have it on Autopilot to start with. So this just gives them the confidence that they're verifying everything before it goes out. It allows them to maybe tidy up their documents, make sure they're happy with all the information that is given to Wordsmith before it goes out to the user. Then I typically say when you're at 80%, I would ship. You still have the ability to edit the answers at all times within Wordsmith, even when it's on autopilot. But I would say at that point, turn it on to autopilot and let the business self-serve. So a couple of other things you can do here. If you want to edit the channel, you can just click the button and you can disconnect it. You can completely disconnect or you can view the channel. Now, some other tips and tricks here. What I have seen happen is that once legal rolls something like this out, other departments in the business might want a piece of it, they might want to develop their own, and it might be easier for the business to have a one-stop shop for all of those queries. So you can add multiple repositories into one Slack channel. You just cannot have multiple Slack channels with the same repository. So to show you what I mean, let's take so we have our Ask Legal repository already set up in Slack, let's also add in an Ask HR. So if I navigate over to another repository that I have, so Ask HR, and we do the exact same thing. We head to Advanced and we connect it to the same channel. And I'm fine having it on autopilot. Make sure that I put my Ask Legal also on autopilot. So of course you can have these on mixed and matched. You could have some on Copilot, some on autopilot. It's completely up to you, but for the purposes of this, we'll have them both on autopilot. And I am just going to say hello, and I am going to get a drop down. So you can see that now I've got to manually select, do I want Ask Legal or do I want Ask HR to reply to my answer? We can go a step further. If maybe you don't want users to have to manually select which repository they want to use, we can use what's called auto routing, which allows the AI to determine which repository is the correct one to answer your question. So how we would do this is you would contact your account manager and you would just let them know that you want to turn on auto routing. They will ask you for instructions. So what that means is, let's pretend that we have an Ask Germany and an Ask Spain. Maybe your instructions there are, okay, when the question is in German, I want the Germany repository to reply. When it's in Spanish, I want the Spanish repository to reply. We just need to know when you want certain repositories to actually answer the question to be able to guide the AI. So that would remove the drop down and Wordsmith would automatically route to the correct repository. One other thing to note here is the Wordsmith app. Now we do have a separate video on this that goes a little bit deeper on this, but essentially where I see customers using this is maybe around more of the HR questions, maybe things that might be more sensitive. By turning on auto routing, you can make this repository eligible in the Wordsmith app. So users can ask a question in the Wordsmith app, so it's not visible in a channel to the entire business, but legal could still have the Copilot channel on. Even if they still have it on autopilot, by having the Copilot channel on, they can still see the queries that are coming through and the answers that are going out without having to manually approve them every single time. But it just gives the users a level of privacy, maybe around more sensitive questions. So that's how to connect to Slack. But scrolling down a little bit further, you can see a few more pieces of functionality here. So email. Every single repository, playbook, create has its own unique identifiable email address, and Wordsmith will always reply to whomever sent the email, whoever CC'd and whoever is BCC'd. So maybe you aren't Slack users and you want to query this repository via email, you can do so by using this email address, and you can also give it email instructions. You can see that we have a native integration with Zendesk, Jiro, and then we also have MCP servers. So again, we have more information on that'll be linked below in the show notes, but essentially MCP, Model Context Protocol, is like the USB-C of AI, so it allows you to connect Wordsmith to external applications and allow Wordsmith to reason over it with the tools that the MCP server exposes. So for example, you could connect this to Jira, you could connect it to Linear, Slack. Now it's worth noting that the tools that this exposes, so the jobs that it can do, is completely different to the native integration that we have in Advanced. So what the Slack MCP tool could allow you to do is maybe extract all of your messages from the past week and tell you who you talked to the most, or what was the biggest query or what was the most frequent query that you were asked this week. You can also connect it to Pipedream. You could build the MCP server on Zapier and connect it here. The possibilities here are pretty much endless, and I would definitely suggest that you watch some other videos that we have around use cases on MCP. So that is a basic overview of how you can set up an Ask Legal repository and connect it to Slack using Wordsmith.